X-Men 97, the show where my childhood gets stripped bare, humiliated, and forced degrading politics down my throat. Great, another Woco Vico technique is coming in March 2024. What's up everyone, this is Wilksy15 here, and let's dive into this stupidity. Since this is my 5th video, it's time to get serious. So, if you've been following my content, please subscribe below and follow me on Twitter, as I do appreciate your attention and your comments, as your support will be the fuel to keep me going making more content. So please, click the button below. The X-Men, a comic and a TV show where an Earth filled with regular humans and ones who are gifted with powers beyond comprehension. But it comes with a price. People living in fear, world governments using that fear for their own political gain, mutant warlords getting other mutants to rise up and take over the planet, humankind creating weapons to wipe out mutants only to be turned against them, and many other dangerous scenarios. But here we have Professor Charles Xavier, who made a home and school for mutants to teach them how to control and use their powers in the correct manner. Learning academia, especially critical thinking and philosophy, making mutants think and feel they do have a right to live, and lastly, being a father to those who just want to be loved. As a main advocator for mutant rights, Charles Xavier wanted to build a world where humans, mutants, and all those in between can live in harmony together by using pacifistic methods. But then we have the polar opposite, Max Eisenhart, known as Magneto, who is a Holocaust survivor, who had been betrayed by humans who his family trusted, only to witness his own parents and sister and the lives of many other families slaughtered before him. And on that day, he vowed vengeance on humankind. He had 2 goals: make a world where mutant kind can live in peace, and to enslave and conquer humankind. But unlike Charles Xavier, he refuses to grow and let go of his tragic past. He's constantly living in it. Instead of looking at himself and making sure no one went through the same hells he went through, he became the very thing he feared and despised the most. A heartless, prejudicial dictator. He believed mutants were the superior race and humans are nothing, only to be enslaved like cattle for the safety of mutant kind. He thought he was so far gone that this was the only path he could take, and if any mutants dared to go against him, they had to meet the same fate as humankind. Stan Lee had created a masterpiece of fiction, and it is loved to this very day by millions. The franchise gave birth to many arcade and video games, especially the Marvel vs. Capcom series. Now, you think remaking this iconic show would be awesome and be celebrated by many, that dads and mums get to relive their childhood and get to share it with their children. But unfortunately, when you find out who is going to produce the series and what they are going for, you know they are going to tarnish and ruin everything, all in the name of delivering the message. Meet Charlie Feldman, the head writer of the X-Men, an A.D.M. and someone who has a taste for hating anything that is a white person. The very thing Charlie is, ironically, and mainly known for attacking Carl Rittenhouse when he's found not guilty. Now you think someone who is unstable, has a mouth, doesn't want to see logic and reason, and will slam the very core demographic audience would not be a wise choice for the job to be a writer for this show. But like I said, Charlie says the same right sayings, the same right quotes, and the same right platitudes in his ideologic circles. Of course, Charlie will get the role, compared to someone who knows the franchise and is a much qualified writer. To me, many of the new writers for video games, cartoons, TV shows are just like her. The importance is not giving the fans what they want and make profit. The importance is driving the work ideology. But if you have already seen it, many shows get cancelled after season 1. Movies lose money, and mass layoffs have occurred. Because what do you need to keep the entertainment machine running? Money. Cash money. And if there is no money to pay out to your staff, then it's bye-bye for them. But they are not going to blame themselves for what has happened to their work. They will blame the fans and society as always.
Society is to blame.
Bob Iger, or I call him Bob Liger, and Bo DeMeo, who is the head producer of the X-Men, are fully on board with this runaway train. It won't stop until the big crash against the reality wall. Since we're talking about comics, let's use an example to hit this point home. Meet Livewire, aka Leslie Willis, a radio presenter who just loved ridiculing Superman. She garnered many supporters, only to be used as clowns in her own circus. People listened to her all over Metropolis, including Lex Luthor. She explains why she hates Superman.
First, he's never around when you need him. Second, everything's just so darn easy for him. And third, all he cares about is himself.
Which we all know is all false. Leslie Willis didn't just hate Superman, she was jealous of him. She was jealous because Superman was gaining more of the spotlight than she was. As she was craving for more attention, what better way than to use your hatred of someone as your stage? Not only to ruin someone's image and livelihood, but to gain more followers, or should I say demoralized troops, to deliver the same hatred tenfold. When she does her concert to celebrate her 3rd anniversary, to celebrate her success of the show, the boys in blue and Superman come to escort the crowd from the concert. Since a freak lightning storm appears and the stage is a huge lightning rod, the crowd and Leslie Willis ignore the warning and use Superman's presence to hype up the crowd and showing her courage against the hero. While she is mesmerised over the spotlight on her and the power she had over the crowd, lightning struck down and Superman tried to save her. But as she ran on a cable, she was electrocuted, only to be turned into a woman with electronic powers. At first glance, she blames Superman again for her own ignorance. But upon seeing this and marvelling at her new powers, Livewire was born, with 2 goals: destroy Superman, no surprise, become the new media over Metropolis, and take everybody's electrical power hostage. But eventually she is stopped by Superman. There is an Action Comics Volume 1, number 835, where her boss fires her for dunking on Superman and causing the studio to lose huge ad revenue, and the boss took it personally because his wife was saved by Superman. But that's just another story. The story of Leslie Willis is as old as time. Nothing in the entire world is more dangerous than sincere ignorance and conscientious stupidity. Quoted by Martin Luther King Jr. Leslie Willis was caught up in her own lies and petty feuds against Superman. She failed to recognise she lost her image, job and humanity due to her own ignorance. Rather than to take responsibility, she took the coward way out of believing the very lies and fabrications she made up. Just like the activists and people who run Disney, they are just the same. They say they care about what you hold dear, but really they are using it to be attention whores and using the work of somebody else's franchise to make an army of drones that will take every order and eat the slop and every propaganda thrown at them. Since they already hate you to begin with, what better to hurt your enemies by destroying the very things they hold dear to their hearts? Plus, since we all love to escape by watching, reading media or playing video games, once they take over, you can't get away from it, as the spotlight is always on them and their ideology that cannot be ignored. So, the big question, why are companies hiring these very narcissists, people who never worked or done very little in the film, entertainment or video game industry in their portfolios? Why are they getting the big jobs that end up damaging the very brand itself? Because it's all one big cult. And if you're not adhering to the woke religion, you're ostracised, you're out. Or worse, blackballed from any productions. Money is meaningless now. Radicalisation and driving the message into people's brains is more important. Hence, they will hire people of the same cult or DEI drones. Because, as the Joker once said,
Not about money, it's about sending a message. Everything burns.
and that message is they hate you and the fans. So when they start taking over and destroying what people hold dear, then begins the demoralization.
I like to make men uncomfortable. I enjoy making men uncomfortable.
until you're broken and you finally accept the message. When someone is demoralized, they no longer process information. Heck, they reject all data, every shred of evidence together. Even if I force them to see layoffs happen and physical buildings of once major companies that have collapsed, or showing recordings of executives showing them they are nothing but pawns, they still don't want to accept, because it goes against their worldview and they don't want to admit that they are wrong or they have been hustled. The only time they accept it is when reality kicks them in their fat bottom or a boot stomp on their face. Which is the tragic part of the story, because when it happens, it's far too late. Now, before you say to me, I'm just bigoted and I'm becoming the very people who hate mutants, then what if I told you you have the freedom to go and make stories? You can have as many gays, bis, trans, as many as you like, and go and make your own IPs. Yeah, go for it. I welcome creativity. I applaud it when people's work gets successful when they come from humble beginnings. But what the fans, as well as me, ask of you is, don't change characters' IPs or the lore that already exist, or worse, the work of someone who is unfortunately no longer with us, as that is disrespectful. But the problem is, for them, demoralized and unstable people just can't create or have the talents to do it. So that's why the leech of other mass market IPs and self-inserting themselves and their ideologies into the stories or the very characters themselves, as it's the easy path to take. Modern audience is just a dystopian term, destroying the things that you hold dear and to dehumanize you. But hold up, Books of 15, the very first issues of the comics were inspired by the civil rights movement, and mutants feeling they don't belong in the world is a great representation for the alphabet soup community, right? Well, I keep hearing this too many times, because if you've seen the show or read the comics, you're missing the big picture. All humans, everybody, all humans have the biggest insecurities, which is having a place where we belong. Or even thinking one day the people who we thought loved you go and betray you, or worse, complete rejection. The stories and the themes themselves relate to every human consciousness. Hence, a huge audience around the world love this show and the comics altogether. This new formula the activists are proclaiming, a group of people not liked by the public, mixed in with fighting racism and any kind of phobia over the rainbow, equals civil rights. Newsflash, the very themes we spoke of have been in storytelling for centuries. It's nothing new, hence why it relates to every human consciousness and insecurities around the world. But when you change the design, retcon the characters and butcher the themes of the lore and the story, it is no longer the X-Men, just a different franchise wearing the skin suits of the famous IPs. But as we be to Charles Xavier as they are to Magneto, we try and reason with them, but they are just going to refuse to see the evidence. It's all a waste of time. You're just banging your head against the wall. But please, do not attack Charlie or Bo. We don't need any more Leslie Willises as it is. So that's why I walk away from them entirely and never look back. Because at the end of the day, Disney and the cult ideologues are in control of the franchise. It won't change until the very people in charge are gone, which is not going to happen anytime soon, until the companies are on the brink of collapse, or worse, they're gone entirely. That's why I keep saying to people, vote with your wallet and support creators or franchises that only cater to the fans and won't adhere to ESG, stockholders or activists. Because I say, and I say it again, why are you giving money or your time to the very people who hate you or will abuse and humiliate you to your very face?
I enjoy making men uncomfortable.
X-Men is a show I loved and admired when I was a child, and I still love it to this day. Hence why I watch and read this timeless classic, to remind me this is what cartoons or shows should be: pure escapism, stories that relate to everybody, and life lessons to remind ourselves, even if we don't have special powers ourselves, there are still characters in the show that connect to us in some way. Being in a world where no one wants you.
My own flesh and blood, a mutant!
Daddy, please!
You're a disgrace! I'm ashamed to be seen with you. You ain't my daughter. Not anymore.
Daddy! Daddy!
The dangers of becoming the very thing you despise the most.
Fool, you still dream of peace with those who would destroy all mutants?
Is this your answer? This horror? After all the suffering we both have seen, you wish me to wage war on 6 billion humans?
When I was a child, my people talked while others prepared for war. They used reason while others used tanks, and they were destroyed for their trouble. I won't stand by and watch it happen again. I won't!
Mama! Papa!
No, don't make me see. Xavier, I can't. Stop it. Stop it.
No, Magneto. You will stop.
No. No more.
Being ostracized or an outcast.
The villagers drove my mother away for bearing such a freak. I never even knew her name. She abandoned me, but I did not die. Instead, I was found by a family of traveling performers. I became Nightcrawler, the star attraction of their little circus. When the spotlight went out, I was still an outcast, shunned and hated.
What about the monastery?
A great tragedy. But it was only stone and mortar. The foundation God has built in our hearts can never be destroyed.
Man, I don't get you.
Here, I've marked a few passages you may find rewarding. Remember, Herr Logan, different eyes.
Sacrificing oneself to save others.
The gift need not come from a single entity. A smaller portion from many is possible. Be warned. Your own flames would be diminished by the amount sundered.
We understand, and we accept.
Scott. Scott.
Jean. Oh, Jean.
I love you, Scott.
My time here has ended. I must depart.
Trying to better the world.
This isn't what I signed up for.
Help us to fulfill my dream. Working for a better future for all, mutant and human alike.
Losing someone important to you.
I am proud. Proud of you all. My X-Men.
X-Men 97, you will never get any of those kinds of stories or themes at all. This show is only for the activists and the woke cultists, because of course, demoralized people despise the very themes as it goes against the ideology. What you'll get is no femininity in women, men won't get big screen moments, or possibly turn them gay, characters now obsessed with sexuality, DEI and politics. And unfortunately, you will never get intense storylines, because in this day and age we have to treat everyone with kid gloves. Since this is for modern day audiences, if you hear or meet people who say you're making a big deal of nothing or you're hurting the alphabet soup people, they're trying to guilt trip and silence you. They are the very people who have already been demoralized as they don't see the big picture of what's happening. Or they are the very shills who have sold their souls to the cult just to get attention or a leg up in their careers. Don't engage with these people, vote with your wallet, continue to watch and give appreciation and support to the people who care about their own fan base and franchises, and just like Superman, don't let the clowns get you down, and pay them no mind. What do you think? Do you feel what I am saying is correct, or am I thinking too hard and it's all one comedic joke? Until next time, this is Wilksy15 signing out.
How does it feel to have lived long enough to see all of your favorite franchises go down in flames?
Feels great.